Hi, Sherry. Hi, Abe. I just want to spend a little time talking to you about septics and also your well. Some people have never had a septic or a well. Maybe you do, but you know, uh, a well is not an unlimited source of water. You have to respect it. Same thing with septic. It is an unlimited disposal process of water. So, saying that, I just want to go over a few things that might help you in the future, and know a little bit more about your system. The septic is a 1,000 gallon low profile tank, and the leach field is a product called infiltrators, and they work very well. We've never had problems with the septic, and we also make sure that about every month we'll buy a box of that Rid-X and flush it down the toilet. I think it's even more effective if you're flushing it down when you're leaving, and then it's not getting degraded by excess water or soap from the washing machine, etc. So, Rid-X every month, really important. And the tank is always emptied every 5 years. Now, usually it's just the two of us. You have a couple of girls, so maybe you'll go through a little bit more water and more septic use. But basically, every time they empty it after 5 years, it's kind of a little bit of a joke where they say, well, you only have about a quarter of solids in there. But keeping in mind that paying $300 or $275 or whatever we pay for emptying it, I can't remember off the top of my head. I think they're called Egon and they're out of Utica, but there's a sticker on the electrical box that tells who they are. But that's a small price to pay for a septic system being rebuilt. You can easily spend $10,000, $15,000, maybe $20,000 rebuilding a septic. So good maintenance and, putting in the Rid-X is definitely worth it. The same thing when using water. Sometimes I'll catch Karen, she'll be working in the kitchen and she'll have the faucet running and she'll be 20 feet away doing something else and forget about it. And I'll just walk over and turn it off because, you are in a septic. You don't want to abuse the system. And like I say, we've never had problems with it, but and the same thing with water usage. I think the average statistics for a person is 80 to 100 gallons a day per person water usage. I don't know. I guess it depends on how much laundry you're doing, etc. I think the 80 gallons a day is probably closer than the 100 gallons. But either way, average family uses about 300 to 400 gallons every day of water. So, you say, well, okay, our well should be able to handle that, and it definitely will. Your well is 408 feet deep, and, just to give you some stats on that, your static level, which is how far from the ground to down the well the water will start, is about 40 feet. And that's all just due to the pressure, of the well filling up with water. So, so let's say, you've got a static level of 40 feet, and then you got pump clearance, of 10 feet from the bottom. So, if you do the math and you're going to end up with probably, I don't know, 360 feet of water and or 360 feet in the tube, by the time you take away the static level and you also take away the amount the pump is raised off the bottom. You don't want the pump on the bottom, otherwise, residue could fill the pump filter. So with that said, you've got over 500 gallons of reservoir in that well. So So if the average for a family is 300 gallons, you know, you're not going to run out of water. You know, keeping in mind too that, you know, this whole mountain up here, and really all surrounding areas of Old Forge, except when you get into town, you know, it's all granite. So when you drill in granite, it's not like drilling into dirt. You know, sometimes people drill in dirt and they, you know, they can go 30 feet and they've got, you know, 5 gallons a minute or 10 gallons a minute or whatever, and they only have to drill 30 feet or 50 feet. Well, when you're drilling into granite, it's called fractured rock drilling. And the only time you're going to get water is if somewhere in the mountain, you know, there's a couple of cracks. So, you know, I think in our case, I was like a dog on a towel watching the guy drill every day. I had nothing better to do. And he would tell me, you know, when they were drilling, he says, when you watch the drill bit drop fast, you know, versus, you know, dropping an inch every 10 minutes, that means you're in a crack and it's gravel. And that's what you want when you're fracture rock drilling. And so, you know, I think we had 3 or 4 of those big fractures, and that's really good. Not only that, when we drilled the well, I think it was in the year 2000, 2001, you know, we didn't even have the house built, but, you know, we drilled the well and it just sat there empty. We couldn't afford to put a pump in it, and we weren't ready. We didn't have a house. But my point is the year they drilled, I think, was 2000 or 2001. It was one of the biggest droughts in Old Forge's history. Wells were going dry all over, and when he got done drilling ours, we had water, and that was a really good sign. So with that said, you know, the wells up here do not produce a lot of water. I mean, there's a camp that just got drilled down the street. They had to go 300 feet, and it produces 1 gallon a minute, you know, and that's about the average up here. You know, some wells average 1.5 gallons, whatever, and a lot of it depends on, you know, has there been a lot of rain or whatever. So with that said, you say, oh, geez, you know, that's not a lot of water, you know, 1 gallon, 2 gallons a minute or whatever. But, you know, if you've got a reservoir of over 500 gallons, there's no way you should ever run out. Because, you know, if you take a shower and the average shower is 15 or 20 gallons, well, if your recovery rate is, let's say, 1 gallon, 1.5 gallons a minute, you know, you're going to recover that water in 10 minutes time. And so it would take a really big screw up to empty your well. With that said, you still have to respect all your plumbing. You know, if you got a leaky faucet, you don't want to let that go. That's something you got to fix right away, because you say, oh, it's only dripping every 3 seconds. Well, guess what? You know, you're putting that's probably more of a danger not to the well, but to the septic, because now you're taxing your septic. So if you get a leaky faucet, address it immediately. You know, just do not wait. Even worse than that is a flapper valve on a toilet. How many times have you know, flushed the toilet in the city or whatever, and then maybe the chain was set too long, and now the flapper valve is hanging on the chain, you know, and it's letting a lot of water out, you know, way worse than a leaky faucet. Well, that's something you cannot ignore. You know, you got to adjust that chain just long enough where the flapper will not get hung up when it's dropping down after a flush, and you know, and these are the type of things you have to be really aware of. You know, if you see, that's why I have that activity light on. You know, if I see that thing going on like crazy, there's something wrong. You know, somebody left a hose on, or I got a flapper valve leaking, or I've got something going on. So I guess it really just amounts to respect. You know, in regards to the well, you know, let's say normal daily use, you're not going to have a problem. You know, taking showers, washing dishes, that's it. You know, you're fine. But let's say you decide, oh, I'm going to pressure wash the deck. You know, well, you know, a pressure washer could use 3 gallons a minute. So, you know, so 30 minutes of pressure washing might take 90 gallons of water. Well, that's a lot of water usage. So basically, you know, what I would do is if I was pressure washing, I would pressure wash, you know, 30 minutes max, and then I would go take a break and wait, you know, an hour minimum before I start again. You know, you don't want to overtax your well. And we had a guy up the street. He pressure washed for 4 or 5 hours straight, and he ran the well dry, and he had to call the fire department to fill it back up, and it was just a big mess for him. But and I've never had my well go dry, but you know, you don't want it to happen either. So, you know, the other thing I guess what could mess you up is, let's say you buy a hot tub, you know, and you put a hose in it and you're filling it. Well, you know, you don't want to just keep that hose on until that tub is full. You know, a 5-person hot tub is probably going to be 350, 400 gallons, you know, so, you know, turn on the hose, let it run for 10 minutes, and then wait a couple hours, you know, and then turn it on again for 10 minutes until it's full. But it's all about respect. You know, you're living in the mountains here, and if you respect that well and you respect that septic and not leave faucets running too well, you know, you'll just never have a problem. And same thing with leaks and faucets or toilets or whatever. It's something that just has to be addressed immediately. Now, smaller jobs, washing the car, don't worry about that. You know, just wash the car and use as much water as you want. And, you know, I don't want to scare you or anything like that. It's not that serious. But, you know, you do have to respect the system. You do have to respect the septic. And use the Red X, like I said, at least every month. And you will never have a problem. You'll never have a big bill of rebuilding your septic or worrying about your water getting too low, etc. You know, there are specs on the pump and the motor on the electrical box. You know, you've got a jacuzzi pump. It's a high quality pump. And you have a Franklin Electric, a 1-horse motor attached to that pump that is 400 foot down. So, and, you know, all I can say is if you ever need a new pump, they say the average time frame for a pump is maybe 10 years, but that's not really true. If you're only here on weekends, you know, we've had our pump for a long time and we've never had to replace it. And I think it's because, you know, for many years when I worked full-time and Karen worked full-time, we never, you know, we never taxed it very much. We were only here a couple days a week. So, you know, but when the time comes, you know, and you have to replace the pump, make sure that you talk to your, you know, the person who's going to do the work and say, well, I want to know what kind of pump you're putting in and I want to know what kind of warranty it is. And then do a little research on what they offer. You know, don't just accept what they give you. You may want to say, well, geez, I think I'll just go into Syracuse or Binghamton and buy a Franklin Electric motor and buy the, you know, the jacuzzi pump and pay a little bit more and have you install it. BJ Queen is about the only game in town in here for that type of repair. And the only other thing I'll say about, you know, I've seen people up here replace their pumps and they make the fatal mistake of not having a chlorine shock done to their well. Well, you know, when you replace that pump, you've got those plastic lines and electrical wires laying all over the ground, and there is deer poop everywhere. So I can guarantee you, if you replace your pump and you do not shock your well, you will not pass a coliform test. You just won't. You know, there's just too much going on with organic material on the ground. So always remember that too. You know, shock treatment to your well. If any work is done, if it was pulled up for any reason, you get a shock treatment and then you wait at least a week or two before you drink that water. You know, use it for showering, no problem there. But, you know, we love our water. We hear people up here that are, you know, oh, I don't drink the water up here. And it's like, well, why not? You're in the mountains. And, you know, and we get our water tested probably every, I don't know, 2 or 3 years just to make sure, you know, we keep the well locked. You know, there's no chance of a mouse dropping in there and getting any type of, you know, problem with, you know, anything in the well that way. But it's great water and it's ice cold and delicious. So just respect the well, respect the septic, and you'll have a long, wonderful life up here in the Adirondacks. That's it for this video on septic and well.